The year is 1996, and South Africa is the very first country in the world to outlaw discrimination based on sexual orientation, and a front runner on legalizing same-sex marriage. But how far have we really come?
I think South Africa is one of the very fortunate countries where, you know, we have equal rights for homosexual people. I mean, if you look, for instance, the top 5 countries in Africa that do not allow for people to be homosexual, like Tanzania, Sudan, Egypt, Nigeria. And I mean, it's hard because, I mean, those are very, very, very big countries. And I mean, compared to South Africa, we're relatively small. But I think we are very privileged to be able to have a constitution that allows us to be who we want to be.
And it's not just in Africa, actually. We've been rated the safest country in the world for gays and homosexuals or anyone.
Yeah.
And I think there's only 4 or 5 countries internationally that's on par with our laws. But there's a difference than having it on paper in the constitution, but actually living it out in society. And that's, I think, where we need a bit of change and where we need to influence people.
I mean, there is still a lot of gay bashing happening around. You know, we read about it in the news regularly, where violence is implemented, and abuse and rejection. So I think it's like Jaco says, it's one thing to have it on paper, but it comes from the community, it comes from society, where we need to take what is written on paper and actually enforce it.
Do people know what's written on paper? That is the problem. Because I remember as well, I used to do this theatre show that traveled the country, and I at the time did not even know that I was busy doing shows about the Constitution. Only a few months later into the production, I was told, oh, this is why we're acting, this is why we are doing this. And I was like, hey, so I can kiss a... Yeah, it's like, well, can I go kiss a guy? And like, legally I could do that. So also at the same time, how many people truly know the Constitution, and how many people really know our rights? And not even just from a sexuality point of view, but from a safety point of view, you know?
You know what my issue is? That so many cases have been brought forward but haven't been taken seriously. So is our police taking us seriously, the people who are supposed to take care of us? Can we come forward if ever we experience hate?
The thing is, I think also because we are seen as a minority group, and when we do report incidences of abuse and, you know, violence to the South African Police Service, I think we're seen as a minority group and not something as important to address.
I think are we taking from a point that we are not being taken serious by society, or are we also stemming from the fact of us not knowing what our rights are? Because if we were really educated, I think you'd have a little more of a backbone and you'd be a little more stronger. Besides the fact of being a minority, it's also understanding that you have this right. And this is what makes me equal in this country as well. I shouldn't feel like I'm a part of a minority. I shouldn't feel like I'm excluded from anything, because my constitution in the country that I grew up in allows for me to be Jodi just the way I am. But who knows that?
Well, I think everyone knows that. I mean, like, we all know it's illegal to get married and to be who we are. So I think the knowledge is there.
The thing is, the knowledge is there, but I mean, our constitution is forever changing. But I mean, the facts of you know, our homosexuality. I think the fact of our homosexual rights in South Africa, it has been there for years. And I mean, we have the resources available to have access to that and to make sure that we know what our rights are as gay people.
Maybe we need to educate those who are not gay about our rights, because they don't necessarily know that we have those rights, and they think they can infringe on them based on whatever reason they have.
Okay, then what are our rights? 1, we can get married.
Yeah, we can adopt surrogacy.
You can serve in the military.
Yeah, my favorite one, we can get married. Hey, Jaco.
He's taken, Jodi.
No, I'm saying to you, I mean, I'm speaking from the fact that You actually had, what was that like for you though?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing.
How did people respond to the news that you were going to get married to your life partner?
Look, there was some resistance, from a very, very small, tiny part of our family side. But majority of our friends and family, even family from a small farmers town, they were there. Conservative people, who had views a few years ago that it was wrong, and they were there. They supported us. So actually, we had a lot of support. We were very blessed. Except for the small few people that were a thorn in the bush. But it's our happiness that matters.
And now for you as a man getting married to your partner in this country and being legal, and for you to actually be doing it, what did that feel like?
Amazing. Actually, truly amazing. I actually felt, I felt equal to, straight couples getting married. I felt valued, and respected for being able to do it. I can just imagine if I place myself in other countries, let's say Somalia or Tanzania, to be or for the right to be taken away for you, not to be married. It's really sad. It's heartbreaking. I want to be treated as normal as anybody else, and I think I deserve that right. So even to imagine that there's a possibility for someone else that can't get married, it's sad. It's really terrible to think about, and it actually breaks my heart to think about it. But luckily,
the thing is, it is sad for a heterosexual community to not need to have a law to permit them to get married to the person that they love, and where we need to have all these structures in place to be able to live a normal life to a certain sense and to experience the pleasures that is not necessarily a right, but it's a privilege to have.
Yes,
it is. But one aspect, so obviously we got married now. Now the next phase for our relationship is children and adopting or surrogacy. Now that's another factor where I think we might need a bit more of equality in terms of children. For a gay couple to adopt or to go through surrogacy, it's a very lengthy process. It's about a year maybe. You've got to go through questionnaires, psychological evaluations, doctors' evaluations, a bunch of stuff where you get your straight heterosexual couples. They can have a baby right now, but they are worse parents than the gay couple next door that's actually loving for or that loves the children. So I think that's maybe where equality needs to be a bit more leveled. But we'll get there maybe.
I want to ask, bringing it back to South Africa and, having the right to be openly gay. There was recently a law passed in Brunei where the prince said that being recognized as homosexual is punishable by death.
Yeah, you get stoned to death.
And the thing is, for me, what baffles my mind is, how can someone who puts that person in power and makes that person decide to take a life?
In Afrikaans, my favorite, hoe durf jy?
Hoe durf
jy? For me, I think that is where one needs to actually look at it from that point of, when did you become, exactly like you said, the person who decides my future, decides for me who I am going to love, who I'm going to raise kids with, who I'm going to have a life with. How are you in that position when we are all just humans here trying to find ourselves?
Absolutely.
But once again, the Brunei, that they are based on the fundamental Islamist, laws, and that's again where the religion aspect comes in, which we will discuss later. But which have been discussed.
Yeah.
No, but that's good because the episode is probably going to come after that.
Well, yeah, but anyway, but it's based on Islamist or Islamic law. So it's religion once again, It's condemning people to death.
It really baffles my mind that how does someone sleep at night knowing that you have revoked someone's privilege and right to be who they really are, be it, and besides their sexual orientation and what they believe but for being a human being. But love doesn't choose a sex or a color or a, the heart wants what the heart wants.
Yes. For me, growing up as well, I remember having this one partner, and I was in high school. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. And he just kept wanting to touch me in public, and I was like, hold my hand, or like, just like, when we are like, and I could remember the feeling of like, no, don't, this, no, don't, like, no, we can't do public affection, no, don't do public affection. And to grow up that way and for that to be your norm is terrible.
Absolutely.
I mean, and then you have your friends who are walking there next to you, hand in hand, kissing each other, going like crazy, and you feel like the third wheel, but actually your person is right there next to you, but you can't do anything. I mean, these are the realities that you're faced with, even though we know that the Constitution allows us to live freely.
But can I tell you what makes my heart smile? When I walk somewhere and I see a same-sex couple, not necessarily being overly affectionate with each other, but like small things, like holding each other's hand in the mall and type of those things.
I want to cheer.
I want to cheer. That's the thing. I always walk and I get this, you know, like this slight grin on my face, and I'm just like, how privileged are we that even though people may frown upon it and go like, okay, gay couple, but we have that right. Nobody can take that away from us. Well, let's hope.
So we have the right, okay, like we are seated here right now. Would you actually hold your partner's hand in public?
If I had a partner, I think it's all about mutual respect. I think you need to find limits and things that you are comfortable with in your relationship. I mean, me, for instance, I would go one shot in and hold someone's hand, but my partner might not feel as comfortable to show public affection. So I think it's all about compromise, and I think it's all about, you know, finding what you're comfortable with within a relationship setting.
Yeah, like for instance, we don't hold hands in public, but like we'll put our arms around each other when we walk. So it's just, but I think there's straight couples as well that don't prefer, that don't do public affection. So I think it's a personal preference to each one. Yeah.
I mean, I love holding my partner's hand. However, I find that the world is against me and her because, okay, let's think about it like this. I'm a black gay woman.
A beautiful black gay woman.
Thank you.
In an interracial relationship. Everything's against us. So when we do hold hands, you know, we always like, do you feel safe here? Are you okay doing it here? You know, these are the questions that come up.
But don't you understand that you are a walking example of freedom that we actually have? Literally by saying the fact that there's this mixed race relationship and there's this fact that you identifying yourself as a beautiful black
But I
woman.
mean,
I
do understand where your concern comes from, because it's two different cultures clashing, coming together.
And we're gay.
And that's
You know?
So you are putting yourself more out there the more, you know, I don't want to say extreme you go, but I mean, if you look at a black or a white or a colored or a pink or a green gay couple, you're going to be, okay, they're two people of the same kind. But I think the minute, you know, you start going a little bit outside that box, it does draw a little bit more attention, and it does make people talk.
But I'm at this point right now, and I think we need to reach this point as well in our society, in our day-to-day. How do we break this barrier? How do we are we supposed to just become stronger as individuals and be like, you know what, this is my right. And whether you've got a problem with it or not, I got me and I got my partner. Because it's constantly us feeling this that's coming onto us. And yes, it's there. It's there. I mean, we are being stereotyped. We are, you know, as you were saying, we have these equal rights, but how far have we really come if everyone around us still has this power over us? They're still deciding for us.
I do have to add to that, but I think what I want to say is, I think the newer generation is way more accepting of it. I think most of the judgment and confusion and resentment comes from older generation people. I mean, they grew up in a certain era in their time where it wasn't permitted and it wasn't allowed. So I think most of them are, I don't want to say stuck in that era, but they became accustomed to what they knew. So I think with newer generations, I think if you walk in a mall or somewhere, the chances of getting, you know, like a skiwe oogie from a young person is very little towards an older couple that will walk past.
Well, you know, we just have to look at schools as well. We've got these friends, and he was married with a wife, and they've got two beautiful children. Eventually, he got divorced, and he's in a relationship with another guy now. But the sad part is his two boys that's in school now are being bullied for the fact that his father is gay. And it even comes from the headmaster.
Oh, wow.
From the headmaster of the school. So, I mean, how do you, what do you do about that?
Because I mean, what is he supposed to be moving the kids now the entire time until they where he's in a space where they accept it? I mean, when do we break this? When does this stop?
That is very upsetting for me to hear. I feel that is where our government needs to step up and step in, because school and education is the ground phase for people to start, you know, becoming knowledgeable about our constitution and the rights that we have. But as the saying goes, idiots breed idiots.
Exactly. I mean, Canada, Denmark, and New Zealand are the top 3 countries for gay partners to go and visit.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And South Africa used to be in the top 5, and we're no longer there. And that's because of the violence that's happening, people, and the hate crimes that are happening in our country. To think that is incredible. Like, I don't even have words for that. And to even talk about the ground level of education, in schools, how are we still teaching LO about, you know, man and women when there's gay children should know how to protect themselves.
But that's what I want to say. It's like schools have this one mindset template that it's like, this is what we teach you, this is how it is. And then by the time that you reach, you know, the end of school and you start going to university, you're bombarded with all these other things that nobody educated or taught you about in school. And it feels like you never learned anything. So we can get to a point where we understand our rights, and we can get to a point where we can help other people understand their rights. But how does HIV and AIDS fit into the umbrella of equality in South Africa? Because I feel like there's this preconceived idea and discrimination, like AIDS is primarily spread by gay people, which I feel is completely ludicrous.
That's so true. So I know that there are organizations which are welcoming and safe for gay people to learn about that. Specifically one in Pretoria named OUT. So it's O-U-T in capital letters. All the information you need about taking care of yourself as a gay individual, free testing, so on and so forth. Everything is happening there. And they also give counseling, and you know, so organizations like that are emerging in South Africa, but we don't have enough. I mean, the only one I know of in Johannesburg is the one in Pretoria.
Wow.
So I don't even, we need more of those organizations.
There are a few organizations, more primarily in Cape Town. We'll post the links to those at the end of this episode. But we do have the resources to get educated on HIV/AIDS in South Africa as well. There are a number of organizations, so there's no excuse for us to be lazy and to not know our rights in terms of that.
I'm not sure if anyone also knows about that. A trend started as well about this new
PrEP.
So PrEP, yes. So most people started now using PrEP, and they're like, oh, you know, I can still carry on having unprotected sex because I'm on PrEP.
Right.
You know, it's really a little wave of information that goes over you the way I scan an email. Scan it like, oh, okay, I got the information now.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what is coming across as well. So people have spoke about it and said, oh, no, you know, if you can use PrEP now, you're not going to be HIV positive anymore. You won't contract it. You can still carry on as per normal.
But the thing is PrEP freely available to everybody?
I have no idea.
No, I don't think so.
Does it need to be prescribed?
Not local, not in our country at least, yeah.
You see, I think this is things that we need to address. This is like, where can we find PrEP?
I watched a documentary on a local channel where, and I don't know what organization it was, but they were trying to educate people in this community about PrEP and the use of PrEP, especially for women whose husbands, well, they live in, whose husbands are sleeping around, and they are aware of it. However, they don't know how to protect themselves because these men are so dominant and will demand unprotected sex from their partners. So they were trying to obviously educate the women and say, look, this is available for you, and I know you can't escape this position you're in right now, but protect yourself.
The thing is, it is still a very, very serious topic in South Africa and mostly in the world. And I don't think it is a pandemic that we're going to be able to solve, you know, in the near future.
Yeah, so I don't think you can get it locally through public healthcare, at least.
No,
You know.
actually only from the private sector, and it costs what, 300 to 350 per month. How are you supposed to afford that? It's almost like
Does
a
medical aid
luxury.
cover that?
And medical aid doesn't even cover PrEP.
You see, and again, that should be a basic human right to have access to these healthcare products. And that is again where, you know, I don't want to say we're being discriminated against, but we're being excluded from that privilege that we are entitled to. So, in closing, I think it comes down to, if you buy a car, you must know how to drive it. So if you want to be a gay person in South Africa, you must know your rights. Educate yourself, make sure that you know what the Constitution allows you and doesn't allow you to do. And if you feel that the Constitution is excluding things that you feel, you know, we should be entitled to, I think it's time that we stand up.
Yes.
I think it's time that we, you know, we are the generation that we have the power to make the change and bring the change for future generations to come.
Absolutely.
We need to support, embrace, and respect one another. Because if we treat each other with dignity, we are then more dignified. And if we treat each other with respect, we are then more respected.
It is our duty to contribute to the creation and awareness of a more equal and safer society in South Africa.
I couldn't agree with you more. She is Shenay O'Brien.
And he is Jodi Deerling. Catch us next week on our next episode of WQMD.
If you would like to win a weekend away with you and 3 of your friends at Loskop Dam, all you have to do is share and like all of our pages on our social media platforms, and you can stand a chance to win this fabulous prize.